Today, by special request, we're going to be making fluffy omelettes. These are not to be confused with South African omelettes, which are just flat and not fluffy. Other people call these French omelettes. I hope you enjoy them. Right, the first thing to do is to get your ingredients together. Now, as they say, to make an omelette, you've got to break a few eggs. For one omelette, I like to have 3 eggs. 1, 2, and 3. It's also important to have the essential condiments to go with your omelette. I usually start with a beer. Now, it doesn't take long to cook an omelette, so you usually only get time for 1 beer. A little bit of olive oil just to make sure that the eggs don't stick in the pan. Most importantly, you're going to need a deep bowl because you need to get the eggs in there and you've got to beat them up to get them fluffy. I like to put a bit of cheese in my omelette, so I'm just going to slice up some pre-sliced cheese and a bit of tomato for me. But look, ham, anything you like. A bit of capsicum's good. I'll get some of that. So a bit of capsicum goes nicely in your omelette, so I'm going to add this, or as they call it in New Zealand, pepper. So let's get into the slicing and dicing. Just chop up your capsicum, just as much as you need. A few slices of tomato, that's always good. Chop them up. Remember, I'm just making an omelette for one person, so I don't need a huge amount of these things. And I'm going to chop up some cheese as well. Right, and chop up the cheese. We just need this. It's been pre-sliced, so it's easy, but you can grate cheese just as you would. Just get a big block, put it through the grater, and chop up your cheese. Excellent. Just got room for another beer. Okay, the fun part's where we get to beat up the eggs, so break your eggs into that deep bowl. It's got to be deep. Don't get a shallow bowl, it's not going to fluff up. Crack their little babies in there. Now, a couple of things you can do. You can use a whisk. Whisk, whisk, whisk. Not as effective for putting lots of air into the egg. So I like to use the beater, and you really give this thing a bit of a blast. Get plenty of air in there. But there are other ways to do it. Make sure you get it good and fluffy. So this is what you're trying to achieve. A lovely fluffy consistency. Lots of air in it. Now I've got tomato and cheese for my omelette, but you can pretty well put in anything you like. Okay, let's get started. Get the pan turned on, a bit of heat. Get a little bit of oil in the pan. Did I mention you're going to need one of these? Just get some oil spread around the pan there. Might pay to just freshen up the eggs a bit, get a bit more air in there. That's the real secret. Make sure you've got a beer to get on with. And I think it's time to put the eggs in the pan. Now you don't want the pan too hot. You don't really just want it stinking hot and burning, because you want to cook this sort of slowly. Oh, and tidy up as you go, just so your flatmates don't have to do it. Okay, when it looks like it's starting to cook a bit, that's when you can get your first ingredients in. Don't put them in too soon or they just sink straight to the bottom. Now, just put them in on 1/2 because we're going to fold this in half later. So I just put everything down one side like this. If it cook too fast, you want to get those eggs cooked, you don't want them to be raw. I find it helps to have a drink about now. Bit of salt. Alright, now what we're looking for is sort of cooked on one side, nearly there. See, we're going to fold that over soon, but it's not quite cooked enough. If you fold it too soon, it'll break, and then you've got a broken fluffy omelette. While you're waiting, you can be getting the knives and forks out and plates ready as well. Alright, we're getting some action now. I'm ready, here we go. So you just want to flip half of it. Did I mention a non-stick fry pan is rather helpful as well? There we go, look at that. So the trick here is not to cook it too long. It'll be nice and fluffy in the middle if you cook it just about halfway through, then flip it over. So serve it up. Don't do that. The effect is still the same. So give this a go, and if you really like it, next time we'll make dumplings. Is it tomato or tomato?